Where are ya? Where are you at? I don't see ya. Oh, there you are. This is I Go Travel with Don Barnett, and we're going to look at some big lakes in southeastern British Columbia. You know, when you first come to the mountains, all you see are the big mountains, and you kind of forget that water runs downhill. And at the bottom of those mountains often are lakes. And for example, we'll look at the lakes in the Cranbrook area, southeastern BC. And within the city of Cranbrook, there is at least a dozen or 15 good-sized lakes. And we've picked out about 6 of them to look at. And we picked them based on, there are some resort activities and things going on in these lakes. Cranbrook is the largest centre in southeastern British Columbia. From Cranbrook, we will look at 6 lakes. First, we'll look at the Columbia Lake, and then White Swan, number 3 in the community of Wassa Lake. Number 4, along the highway number 3, Moy Lake. And the largest lake in the area, the Kootenay Lake, and finally, number 6, the Koocanusa. Let's start with number 1. The first lake, Columbia Lake, is the headwaters of the mighty Columbia River that eventually flows southward into the United States. The south end of the lake is the community of Canal Flats. The lake is largely not very accessible, but at Canal Flats, they have developed a very nice public access. Let's drive down to it. As you can see, Columbia Lake is a large lake, larger than you would be advised to attempt to paddle across if you were a beginning canoer. The little beach here is a gravel beach. It's a small beach, but the lake is quite a sizable lake. And in the summertime, people have, particularly in recent years, have really enjoyed this area. And it's a large enough lake to accommodate good-sized motorboats. Paddle boards in the area, nice lawn area. They do hold some community events here. And the little parking area is jammed in the summertime. We'll just scan the area a bit. A nice place. On the way down to the lake, we ran into this little herd of mountain sheep. They're all females with their young ones. The males at this time of year tend to gather by themselves, separate from the females. We couldn't figure out why there was so many of them around here eating there, but someone apparently, it looks like they had thrown out a few barrels of apples, and the sheep had discovered them and were nibbling away at them. After we saw the mountain sheep at the south end of Columbia Lake at Canal Flats, we then drove over to White Swan Lake. It is about 25 kilometers or so east of Highway 9395 that runs north from Cranbrook. The White Swan area is a provincial park. We left Canal Flats and crossed the bridge over the Kootenay River here. The blue water indicates that the river is glacier fed, and the blue comes from the rocks that are ground up by the glacier and then flows down the river. We went a bit south and turned east on the gravel road toward White Swan Lake. We crossed a cattle gate and saw a few cows early on the road. Ranchers lease the land from the government to let their cattle graze during the summer in the forest areas. A few signs told us that this was a log hauling area, so we should be aware there are big trucks on the road. The road was a good hard-packed road, as you can see there. Early on there was quite a bit of forest area, but that changed as we gained elevation. The road had a few bends and turns in it, but it was wide enough to comfortably meet oncoming traffic. There were a number of pullouts like this that you certainly needed if you were to meet one of those big log hauling trucks. And of course you don't want to slip over to the left side down into the canyon there, but that rarely, if ever, happens. Here was a guy who had pulled off to let us by. The road's a good road, like I say, avoided, I guess, in icy conditions, heavy rain, and maybe snow time. But the road is used in the winter time as well. Just don't go off the cliff down the side. But the road, by and large, is good. With more vehicles on the road in the summertime, you do get a little bit of dust. But a little bit of dust doesn't hurt anybody. This guy's got his lights on in the daytime. And if a big motorhome like this can navigate this road, we should not have any trouble either. And of course, you run into quads on the road. They buzz up and down the road to get to one place to another. But there was ample room for passing vehicles. There's a park up there called Top of the World. Real wilderness place. Here you can see where a forest fire ripped through this forested mountain area. And we get our first look at White Swan Lake. It is a good-sized lake. Somebody was fishing out on the lake. It's a large wilderness lake. Good for fishing, not many sand beaches. I didn't see any sand beach area. The forest grew right down to the water's edge. Good for fishing, and it's also hunting kind of country for big game like moose and elk. Some bear hunting in this area too. Just stay on the road. Don't go over the edge. But it was a scenic place. It gets level and flat out at the far end of the lake there.
These rocks are like perfect. These rocks are what we need.
Yeah. And flowers were in bloom in the summertime. Made it nice. Open area here like this, the flowers took advantage of it. The lake here has a half a dozen or so non-service campgrounds. The small number of small campgrounds do get filled up, booked in the summertime. But people enjoyed the little wharf area that was here and there along the edge of the lake. Again, a fishing boat. Some guy had an active trap line operating. So it was a wilderness area, no doubt about it. Just stay in the road, don't go over to the right. But it was a nice road, no trouble, as I said, in this area either, meeting traffic. Let's stop in at Lucier Hot Springs. We had noticed all these vehicles on the way to White Swan. So on the way back, we had to find out why they were parked there. Must be something. Forestry built a couple of outhouses here. We walked down the path. A dozen years ago, when I was here, there was no path, no outhouses, only some nudes laying in the water. But no nudes today. Too many people. There they are, soaking in the sun and the hot water. Lucier Hot Springs. It's just a primitive kind of a place. A few circle rocks in the pools. The water in the creek or the river, Lucier River, is cold, whereas those people are in the hot water. The Rocky Mountains have a number of hot water, hot springs areas. The most famous probably is Banff Hot Springs. It was discovered because of the hot springs there in Banff. There's Radium Hot Springs just north of us here. Fairmont Hot Springs also nearby. Over on Kootenai Lake, a big tourist area is the Ainsworth Hot Springs. Years ago, when I lived in Fernie, after skiing, the people would drive over here at 4 in the afternoon and drive over here to Lucier Hot Springs and get in the snow and jump into the hot pools. It was just great. It's become more popular of an area in the more recent years. Lucier Hot Springs, great place. On the way back to Cranbrook on Highway 95-93, we passed by the Skookumchuck Sawmill. Skookum is a word that means rapids, strong or turbulent, and chuck means water. And Skookumchuck is a word of indigenous origin. Let's drive north of Cranbrook, about a half hour, to Wassa Lake. Wassa is a small community with a good-sized provincial park and campground. They have a nice bike trail out here, so we'll ride our bikes around the lake. The asphalt trail was built a number of years ago, so it's a little bumpy in places. The trail basically goes around both the lake and the community. There are both benches to rest at and a few interpretive signs. The trail leads both through the community and these wooded areas. We got off our bikes to take a photo of the lake. It is a smaller lake, but the water is quite warm. Lake access and the beach area are on the east and south sides of the lake, and by comparison, private houses and cottages seem to take up most of the west side of the waterfront. I will swing the camera back this other direction. It has a boat, a public boat loading ramp. Nice sand area. It was fall and the cooler weather was coming. And as you can see, this is a rather dry country by the pine trees, like this pine tree just behind me. It's an area where the evaporation is greater than the rainfall, or conversely, the rainfall, the amount of rainfall, is less than the evaporation. So that makes it a dry country. And plants in this country, you don't see spruce trees or so often in the area. They're more pine evergreen trees because they withstand drought conditions better. The sharp needles of the pine trees lose little moisture in terms of evaporation. On this decayed pine tree, you can see where the root system is broad but shallow. Water is not deep in dry areas, but shallow roots mean trees are more easily blown over in the wind. Thick bark is another characteristic of the pine trees, enabling them to withstand sudden and fast-moving wildfires. The dry grass grows tall and thick, making wildfire a threat. The lake shore has a nice picnic area or two. Let's just ride the Lion's Trail a little more. It didn't take us too long to bike around the lake on the trail. Just a nice, pleasant, level trail. We are just below the highway in this section. And here we are, back to where we started. Let's look at the fourth lake out of Cranbrook, and that's Moy Lake, and it's on the Crow's Nest Highway, about a half hour out of the city on the way to Creston and Kootenay Lake. And it's a good-sized lake, fairly long, and the highway follows along the edge of the lake. We'll just scan this a little bit more and give you an idea about the size of the lake. Like I say, it's a good-sized long lake. Let's look at this lake in three parts. We'll start from Cranbrook on the east side, the provincial park there, the Moy Provincial Park, and then we'll look at briefly at the town of Moy itself, about the middle part of the lake, and as we go westward toward Creston, at the far end of the lake is a resort area known as Eagle's Nest. Another view of the lake, and I think I'll just scan the lake here to give you another idea of the size of this lake. It's a wilderness lake, and it's a pretty big lake. There was a mine in the area, but I'll tell you more of that once we get into the town of Moy. But we're going to the end of the lake near Cranbrook and near the provincial park. This is the end of the lake near the Cranbrook end of it, near the provincial park. A public boat ramp and lots of boats.
Sorry.
The provincial park has a good-sized campground. And this is a scan of the beach area. Not a large beach area, but quite ample for a good number of people. The lake at this end is quite shallow. As you can see, people are quite far out in the water there. And it is close to Cranbrook. There is a nice lawn area and a few picnic tables. The beach area is close to the provincial park and the campground. and a lot of people go there in the summer. Like I say, it's nice and close to Cranbrook. We will follow this camper back to the highway, and at the midpoint of the lake we'll stop by the little town of Moye. There are some historic buildings in the town. The railway runs between the highway and the lake, killing any chance of development of a waterfront. This old slag heap in the lake along the highway is a result of the original lead zinc mine in the area. This St. Eugene mine here was a forerunner to one of the world's biggest several kilometers away at Kimberley. The priest and his Indian partner sold the mine and used the money to build the mission just outside of Cranbrook, which today is Cranbrook's casino and golf course. We are right by the highway. There's a little graveyard along the highway. You see it as you drive by. And these are old-timers who worked in the mine when the mine operated here years ago. It's an era gone by. You hardly notice the little graveyard from the highway as you drive by. Substantial resort development has occurred at one end of the lake. Summer finds a lot of boats in the water here. They're lined up along the shore and floating in the water as well. Substantial resort development has occurred at one end of the lake. Summer finds a lot of boats in the water. Development at this end of the lake is private, with a sizable number of owners and renters packed into close quarters. The lake has had a reputation of cooler water, but this has not deterred use and development in recent years. The lake is quite shallow in the middle part and is not far from forming two separate lakes, particularly in dry years. Both sides of the lake have not been conducive to major development, even though it is relatively close to the urban center of Cranbrook. Highway 3 and the railway run the length of one side, and the other side runs up against steep mountain elevation. Like at the other end, this end also has a small beach area. Let's look at the biggest lake in the area, the Kootenay Lake, and it's about 100 kilometers down the highway from Cranbrook. Creston, on the south end of Kootenay Lake, is an agricultural and orchard place. The broad valley is flat and ideal for orchard production, but there are also orchards at higher levels. They even have a prairie grain elevator hauled in from the prairies along the main street. Orchard produce includes garden vegetables and a variety of fruit, with the main crop being apples, cherries, and other fruit. Both sides of the lake are steep and wooded, making access by boat the only realistic viable access to the water. Sand beaches are not frequent at all. The lake is large and deep, making it a favorite for serious fishermen. One side of the lake has a winding two-lane highway with residences clinging to the steep mountainside. The far side of the lake is one of the largest private conservation areas in Canada, making access very improbable. But the scenery overall is out of this world. Near the north end is a little community called Crawford Bay, a little artistic community, a great place for a stop. And we're coming down to the ferry here now that goes across the lake. It is claimed to be amongst the longest free ferries in the world. It's all part of the B.C. highway system. Just to ride it is worthwhile. Finally, let's look at number 6, the Koocanusa, the big man-made lake south of Cranbrook. This is the bridge across the Koocanusa. The lake spans 70 kilometers on the Canadian side and runs the same distance on the U.S. side. The name Koocanusa consists of the 3 syllables that make its name. The first syllable, K-O-O, stands for the Kootenay River. The second syllable, C-A-N, stands for Canada. And the third syllable, USA, stands for USA. Hence, you get the name Koocanusa. The lake is formed by the dam downstream near Libby, Montana. The Libby Dam controls the water levels of the lake. Over the winter, water is allowed through the dam, leaving a dry, barren containment area on the Canadian side. Spring runoff in the Canadian Rockies gradually fills the reservoir basin, forming a giant summer lake of clear, clean, fresh mountain water. For example, this is the main boat ramp area in winter, and this is the same area in summer. Houseboats ply the water all summer long. You can rent them. Some boats are owned by people, but groups, weddings, so on. There's a water park enjoyed by kids and adults alike. And like I say, it's a big lake, and all kinds of watercraft of all sizes and shapes. Lots of room to maneuver around. You see kayakers and surfboarders. Lots of clean sand and lots of room for making campfires. But the shores are sandy because the water comes up each year. Lots of sand and sun. And like I said, and clean water makes it a nice place for recreation. There are campgrounds on both sides of the lake, and you can find your own camping spot sometimes, and there are campgrounds, there are residential developments like these, and there are even cattle herds every once in a while. There's just a lot of room for everyone. You can see some great sunsets, and this is the border line between Canada on the left and the U.S. on the right, and stay on the Canadian side. The Americans are paranoid about people crossing into their land. There are many other lakes at the bases of the mountain ranges, and many have regional and provincial campgrounds. It is big lake country. And furthermore, many of these size lakes are stocked with fish each year. This is I Go Travel with Don Barnett. Hit the subscribe button, and that'll tell you when we're putting more videos on the internet. Until then, so long for now. If you want to see more of my travel videos and the stories in them, just do those 3 steps right here. Number 1, Google my name, Don Barnett 5090. Click on my name, hit the word playlists in the middle of the page, and scroll down. Each playlist contains several travel videos.